Our story is the central show in living a life of meaning and consequences. Not understanding the various dynamics that have shaped your unique narrative puts you at risk to live someone else's story rather than your own. Peter Buffett never asked to be the son of one of the wealthiest men on the globe, and yet he had little choice in the matter. His father is multi-billionaire Warren Buffett, so doors have easily opened for Peter. If you ask Peter, even his ready entry into Stanford was due to his fabled last name rather than merit. For us lesser mortals, this might not seem like a bad gig, but there is a heavy burden inherent in such an arrangement. Peter's offhand remark to me one day hit me powerfully. We are all born into someone else's story. Peter was well aware of that. Because of his status, people expected big things of him. He was on a preset glide path. Then, one day, his personal world abruptly changed. Peter was a sophomore at Stanford when his father famously announced that he wasn't leaving his fortune to his 3 children. Peter was no longer heir to his father's billions. His reaction was mixed, understandably so. This was a time to reevaluate. He felt unsettled. Shortly afterward, Peter received news from his mother that his grandfather had left him an inheritance valued at just over $90,000. Clarity came to Peter in an instant. Rather than living his father's story, he would shape his very own. He dropped out of Stanford, packed his belongings, and drove to New York to launch a music career. He figured he could survive on the amount he had been given for about 2 years if he watched his spending carefully. He has since become an accomplished musician and songwriter, recognized with a Grammy for his work on the film score of the Kevin Costner blockbuster, Dances with Wolves. Peter realized that he was not bound to follow only the preset path of Warren Buffett. Peter found his own voice and embraced his unique track when he made that brave decision to leave Stanford and head east. Today, the elder Buffett celebrates his son's personal success, even though it is quite different from his own. Have you embraced your unique life story, apart from the life stories of those who formed you? We have all been profoundly shaped by the messaging of our culture, as well as our early childhood influences concerning our notions of success, failure, gender roles, and various other life topics. We embrace most of these values and life patterns with little conscious thought or pushback. Although some of this imprinting is surely good, much of it is the source of pain later in life. Often it takes a crisis or an epiphany, as in the cases of Person and Leonsis, to prompt profound behavioral and attitudinal change. Change is hard. San Francisco artist and author El Luna puts the challenge succinctly. You must understand the difference between should and must. Should is all about societal and parental messaging and expectations, while must concerns your personal passion and heart. In her book, The Crossroads of Should and Must, Luna says, "Must is why we are here to begin with, and choosing it is the journey of our lives. Our shoulds are absorbed from our surroundings, the messages we get from family and culture. Peter Buffett's shoulds caused him to be an unhappy finance major at Stanford. His must led him to New York and his music career. You might not realize how much your background narrative shapes how you live your life, your likes and dislikes, and even your hopes and dreams. Why do I whistle after taking a shower? I heard my mother do this my entire life. Why am I a serial collector? I lived with parents who loved art and antiques. When I was 10, I began assembling an antique wine glass collection." Rob Kaplan observes, "Each person on this planet has a life story that is unique. Your story has a powerful impact on your emotions, perceptions, idiosyncrasies, assumptions, vulnerabilities, and mindset. Your story goes a long way toward explaining your behaviors. Your story doesn't just shape your habits, values, likes, and dislikes. It resonates on a far deeper level. If you're constantly angry, impatient, and prone to rage, there's a strong probability that you observed such behavior growing up. If you're not a forgiver and possess a distrustful nature, you likely experienced that early on as well. Be curious about such things. Although these patterns are often unhelpful and even destructive, they are familiar and hence hold sway over our attitudes and actions. But it does not mean that we are stuck, unable to make different decisions and fashion a different life.